by making it the first millennium goal that they wanted to achieve. This was a significant stride towards ending the greatest injustice of all times, or an already expired injustice that had lasted longer than we would want it to last. So with all the acclaimed scientific conquests, the technological successes, celebrated civilization, extreme poverty had become something immoral, something illogical, something intolerable. That's why they made it the first millennium goal that they wanted to tackle. Due to the different concerted efforts, unity of vision, firmness of action, befitting media coverage, and determined passion of all the different nations that sat together, and the different stakeholders, the decision makers, in the 25 years, that is from 1990 to 2015, the global extreme poverty rate dropped from nearly 36% to 10%, according to the World Bank status. An indisputable worthwhile achievement, because this was really a very short period of time and they really covered a great reduction in extreme poverty. However, in September 2015, more than 150 leaders met again in New York City to adopt the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Remember, we had the Millennium Goals that had been set, but these were like 8, and it covered a smaller coverage. That's why they sat again to come up with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals to widen their coverage, not limiting it to only developed countries, but to include developed and underdeveloped countries, or the developing countries. And surprisingly enough, the first Sustainable Development Goal that they came up was eradicating extreme poverty, as was in the Millennium Development Goals. We won't call this a coincidence. It shows that our leaders of the different nations were aware, they were alive to the fact that extreme poverty had become an injustice that had outlived its existence, and they needed to eradicate it, thus making it the first Sustainable Development Goal. So the SDG1 has both a direct and indirect impact on other SDGs, as we are going to elaborate today. However, it is so heartbreaking that from 2015 to date, there has been hardly a decrease in the global percentage of extremely poor people, since it remains at approximately 10%. This is owed to the ever-increasing apathy, the disconcerted devotion or commitment, wavering passion, and systematic indifference of the world leaders and the stakeholders in achieving SDG1. As our leaders continue to deny SDG1 the sufficient or deserving attention or befitting action, the global media merely accords it less coverage as it really deserves. So today we say no to SDG1. Today we say no to extreme poverty. Like, it has to go. Today we say extreme poverty, or eradicating extreme poverty, has to be accorded sufficient attention, befitting action. We believe by conviction, based on empirical facts, that beyond achievement of SDG1 lays the achievement of other SDGs. The moment we succeed in achieving SDG1, we believe that SDG1 is not just a global goal, but an escapulation of inclusion and sustainable development. We believe that SDG1 lays the hope and future of the world. We believe that in solving SDG1, we solve all the other sustainable development goals. So today, we want to dissect the impact of SDG1 on the other sustainable development goals. That and so much more will influence our discussion today. I want to thank you all for coming, and I hope you feel at home. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a good afternoon. It's with great gratitude that I welcome you to this momentous occasion that we've all awaited for quite a long time. Without further ado, we shall be kickstarting our symposium. And it's only my humble appeal that since many of us come from different places, with the understanding that we have students from KIU, Makerere, International University of East Africa, Cavendish, IU, I kindly ask us to introduce ourselves. With that being said, my name is Otieno George Victor, a student from Kampala International University and a member of Generation Plus movement, pursuing a bachelor's in law. Thank you. I think we'll follow the lines.
Good afternoon. I'm called Mark Otim. I'm a law student at Kampala International University.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adrian Mohawe. I'm a law student in KIU. I'm happy to see you all.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Musime James, student of Kampala International University and a member of G+ movement. I'm proud to see you.
My name is Abdullah Haji Ahmed. I'm at Cavendish University. I'm doing a Master of Public Health.
Good afternoon. My name is Fatima Hassan Mohamed from Cavendish University, Master of Public Health.
Good afternoon to you all. My name is Namksa Esther. I'm a KIU student pursuing LLB second year. Thank you.
Good afternoon once again. My name is Aweku Babra, a second-year law student at Kampala International University. Thank you.
Good afternoon to you all. My name is Kondako Rogers Julius, a student of the law, KIU, and I'm a member of G+ movement. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Helenita. I am a student at KIU pursuing a bachelor's degree in law, and I am a member of Generation Plus movement. I am happy to see you today, and I congratulate you upon reaching onto this day. And I say Happy International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. It's such a great honor to see that it is on such a day that we have held this function. Happy to see you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mwanda Francis. I do mass communication and journalism at Kampala International University. It's a pleasure meeting you, and it's a pleasure being part of this group. Thank you.
A greater pleasure to see you all. Good afternoon. My name is Owen Benjamin, pursuing a Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communication and Journalism. I think I'm good. Happy to see you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all in the name of the Almighty God. Mugoya Ashraf Harid is my name. I am a third-year law student, Islamic University in Uganda. I am the coordinator, G+ movement, Islamic University in Uganda. And I'm also the president debating club there and many other portfolios. Thank you, and it's a pleasure being here.
Yes, good afternoon. By names of Luchamz Nicodemus, LLB3, IU. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm called Marian Ahmed. I'm a student of Cavendish University, DIT. I'm also a student of Victoria University, Masters of Nutrition. And it's a great pleasure to me to be part of this organization. And today, I hope everyone will learn and we can control our Africa. We will fight poverty. For me, I'm also a member of Somali Student Association, the national association from Somali students.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Osman Ahmed Osman from Cavendish University, pursuing business and management. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arnold Masuko. I'm a software engineering student at Cavendish University.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michael Kerenyang from KIU. I'm pursuing a bachelor's of law.
Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time when we heed to a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying, and it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We cannot pretend and go on living day by day with the presumption that someone will soon make a change from somewhere. These were the opening statements in the song, We Are the World. As young people of this generation, we find that there have been numerous injustices that have been in existence and have been ravaging lots of human lives innocently. And it's our humble call upon this generation and upon policymakers to accord befitting attention to ending extreme poverty, for which there are many ways we can do that. Moving on forward, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be my humble pleasure calling upon my brother, Sam, who I happen to know as Big Sam. Ironically, does not depict in his size. So, my brother is going to deeply help us understand the correlation of extreme poverty and ending hunger, which is Sustainable Development Goal number 2. A round of applause for him as he comes up here.
Good afternoon once again. I'm by the name Samuel Barige. As our theme reads, Beyond SDG1, I will be presenting to you the impact of SDG1 to SDG2, on SDG2, sorry. The UN, according to the Hunger Report, it defines hunger as a term that defines periods of hunger, of populations experiencing severe hunger. This is the effect that the populations have gone hungry, not because they want, but because of they lack the money. You can't afford a meal without money. Your wallet will dictate the kind of meal you're going to have. To give you a statistic, according to the UN, the 3.1 million children who die due to hunger and 822 million people suffer from undernourishment. This is so because most people have failed to afford the access to clean water. They fail to access good sanitation. I'll give you an example. Poverty. When one is poor, there is food insecurity. You can't afford a meal. In the due process, it will affect your mental health, your incapacity to reason. These are live examples we see in class. I saw a meme of recent that my friend posted on WhatsApp, attending a nutritious lecture with an empty stomach. You see the irony there. You're attending a lecture, very important, and you eventually not pick anything. So, not until befitting attention is given to SDG1, SDG2 will continue being a barrier to sustainable development. And the solution to this is we can achieve this through improving agricultural productivity, through an income. And the other way we can put up and ensure practice, nutrition practice to all levels. For easy access and immediate and direct access to food, hunger and malnutrition, they make us less human. I mean, your productivity. It will affect you in work, it will affect your studies. You cannot reason when you're hungry. You cannot do anything when you're hungry, mentally or physically. So as I conclude, I call upon us to act and take befitting attention on SDG1. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Sam, for giving us the correlation between SDG2 and SDG1. We are going to invite Kagame, who is going to take us through SDG8. Thank you.
Good afternoon once again. My name is Kagame once again. The real name is Mohawe Edrin. Kagame is just a functional name. Understand? So I'm going to talk about SDG8. That is decent work and economic growth. So after that, I will share with you the relevance of SDG8 and how it affects SDG1. Are we together? So according to UN, decent work is defined as a general distribution, opportunities for everyone to get work that is productive and delivers a fair income, security in the workplace, and social protection for families beside better prospects for personal development. Now, when you look at this, this is the kind of picture you look at when you're talking about decent work. When you talk about decent work, you want everyone to get a fair pay, okay? When you wake up every day in the morning and you go to work, you want to come back with smiling pockets. We understand. Are we together? But look at what is happening at decent work. It no longer comes on a silver plate. We have to fight and get what we call decent work, which is supposed to be a basic need, as I may say. Are we together? So, pushing on, we made some statistics, and ladies and gentlemen, the sailing waters of unemployment are so calm that nothing is stopping them. As you can see there, that is 6.47% as of 2020, unemployed people worldwide. Are we together? So, this shows you that unemployment has been slightly tackled, but it's defeating us again. Are we together? So, decent work is going away from our side. Okay? Going further, we talk about economic growth and how it works. The definition is, on the other hand, it refers to an increase in production of economic goods and services in comparison to previous periods. That means, someone told me, the SDG of Uganda, GDP of Uganda last year was 40 billion US dollars. Okay. So here we are saying in comparison to previous period. So if we had that amount last year, that means that amount is supposed to be superseding the amount we had in 2020. Are we together? 2020. That's what we call economic growth. Are we together? But look at how it works. We have the nation, which produces economic goods and services. It increases the aggregated production, improves market value for adjusted for inflation, boosts employment rate and income levels, enhances consumption of goods, and then improves quality of life of people. And that's how we build a nation. Okay? When the quality of lives of people is very good. You understand? But moving on, we look at the statistics of women who live below the poverty line. I want to talk about men because their numbers are so overwhelming. Okay, they will scare you. So, out of 4 in 10 women are unemployed. You understand? They live below the poverty line. That is $1.90. Are we together? And when you look at this is the effect of SDG 1 to 8. Are we together? It shows you that all this cannot be achieved in a situation where 99% of the global population, according to World Bank, equivalent to 698 million, okay, as of 2021 is still surviving below the poverty line, and 73 million employable youths are not employed. That is as of 2020, you know? And let me tell you, this does not happen because people wish to have jobs that they don't want to be at. But it happens simply because the situations forces them to do what they cannot do just to get the little to survive on. You understand? So moving on, this is the story of one of our own, that is Chisachi Joyce. He's a resident in Wavivu community in Buvuma district, a P7 dropout, simply because he has no school fees. You understand? Whose parents are peasants, that's the mother, and the fisherman is a father, only for survival. They are doing this to survive. You understand? Not to do anything like, let me say, take the kids to school. You understand? They are doing that for survival. And a friend to Namuganza Madina, P6 dropout. Now, if you have such people in a community, you cannot assure anyone that we have decent work or any growth that we are talking about in SDG 8. Are we together? Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that poverty is not natural and we can fight it. And for us to achieve SDG 8, we have to give solid attention to SDG 1. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kagame. Due to time, allow me invite Esther Alinafe.
Once again, good afternoon to you all. And I'm here to discuss the impact of SDG 1 on SDG 11, which is sustainable cities and communities. First, I'm going to talk about what sustainable means because it's the key word in the SDG. So sustainable means to be able to maintain at a certain rate or level. And communities, this is a group of people living together that is known to us, I guess. So the main thing is in our cities and communities, mainly we have people. And these people are mainly affected by poverty. But before I reach to that, I want to first address to you the main areas to consider for something or for a community and city to be sustainable. First, for a sustainable city or community, there needs to be improving the lives of those who live in slums. There needs to be adequate and affordable housing for everyone. There needs to be infrastructure and basic services. There needs to be access to safe public space and service, enhancing capacities for urban planning, strengthening positive economic social links between the cities, pre-urban and rural areas. There needs to be providing access to safe, affordable accessibility and sustainable transport, improving road safety and urban air qualities, improving waste and waste management, strengthening reliance to natural disasters, enhancing social cohesion and public security. But I want to assure you one thing, all the above cannot be achieved in the presence of poverty. So poverty has a great impact in that when it's still present, when it's still in our communities, when we still have people who live in slum areas, people who can't achieve affordable housing, there is no way we can achieve SDG 11. In other words, the main purpose for this SDG is to be that there in the future there will be opportunities for all with access to basic services, energy, housing, and transportation. But all this can't be achieved when there is the presence of extreme poverty. So for this reason, therefore, I want to call upon everyone, to call upon the world, the human body at large, that extreme poverty is an injustice. We should not look at the opposite of wealth being poverty. It is an injustice because human beings are going to be denied of what they can achieve. So extreme poverty becomes an injustice from there. So I want to call upon the world at large and take action now. Poverty is an injustice. Thank you so much. I remain Namsa Esther. I'm human too.
Good afternoon once again. Through the effects of extreme poverty on SDG 7 and SDG 9. Around 1 in 7 million or 1.1 billion people don't have access to affordable and clean energy. That's SDG 7, sorry. Almost 3 billion people still cook with polluting fuels like kerosene, wood, charcoal, and dung. In Africa, the electricity challenge remains daunting. For example, in Liberia, 2% of the population has regular access to electricity. Even the countries with access often have unreliable service. 1 in 3 developing countries experiences at least 20 hours of power outages a month. And when the power is available, it is expensive. We see a kilowatt cost from between 20 to 30 cents. But then it's against the global average, which is supposed to be 10 cents. Inclusive economic growth is the single most effective means of reducing poverty and boosting prosperity. Yet, most economic activities are impossible without adequate, reliable, and competitively priced modern energy. This is why access to energy is so important in the fight against extreme poverty. Findings have revealed that due to energy poverty, people are denied opportunities to engage in better income-generating projects. They are prone to health issues arising from the use of traditional, unclean energy and very susceptible to low human capital development. The root cause of this being SDG 1, which is extreme poverty. SDG 9 talks about industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Industry in specific has a lot of aspects that need to be looked at. For example, industry on a personal level and then in the industry on a country level, alongside the effects of extreme poverty on it. Because of extreme poverty, industry has been affected in numerous ways. For example, there is unemployment, low income, poor housing, inadequate healthcare, and barriers to lifelong learning, culture, sport, and recreation. When people are poor, they need their income for subsistence. Due to this, they are unable to invest in human capital, physical capital, and their own health. As a result, investment in the economy are reduced, resulting in less productive workforce in the sense that we see absenteeism, people coming late to work, and even when they come early, the output is not as high as it ought to be, and this is how extreme poverty has systematically affected the industry. In a 43-page article forthcoming, on the bit of how extreme poverty has affected innovation, a growing body of psychological research shows that poverty changes the decision-making of those people experiencing it. Professor Stephanie Bayer, who has a law degree from Harvard and a PhD in neuroscience, is using both in a report that connects important dots between brain research, poverty, and creativity, said that the practical result of these changes is co-opting of scarce attentional resources to deal with pressing day-to-day needs. It harms one's ability to be creative. In a 43-page article forthcoming in the Ohio State Law Journal, Bayer details how poverty alters decision-making patterns in the brain. Research shows that poverty shifts the brain into a type of thinking called exploitative, which helps day-to-day survival. As that becomes the dominant thought process, another kind of thinking called exploratory fades away. When brains get trained to just survive the day, they lose their ability to imagine and pursue the next big thing. Because our young population's brain is the most malleable at this time, the conditions of poverty can disrupt developmental trajectories, hence affecting innovation. So I call upon us to join hands together and help in the fight against extreme poverty, so that we may live a better future for generations to come. Thank you.
How many of us are well versed with BLQ? Or eCairo? Or Dubai stocks? Like a big percentage of us, university students, right? So I think you are kind of wondering why I am asking you about BLQ or eCairo, Dubai stocks. Dubai stocks is still working. eCairo might still be working. BLQ scammed us and left. I want to bring you to the attention of inequalities that we have currently. Do you know the owners of BLQ? I heard they are Nigerian guys and so on and so forth. But I want you to realize that whoever started up BLQ was a person who had access to education, a person who realized the importance of using computers, a person who realized the importance of using technology. And that person saw the importance of bringing that technology and using it in Africa and how it will develop him or her. However, us Africans or the developing countries, the thing that we look at are opportunities, what opportunities are available. We don't look at creating the opportunities. This is the difference between the developed countries and the developing countries. This is the inequality that we are talking about. They have access to the good education, creating the good platforms and all the opportunities. And what the developing countries have to do is to wait for the opportunities. And you ask yourself, if this is the rate that we are moving at what pace shall we develop? At what pace shall we develop if we keep on waiting for opportunities? I'm going to talk about SDG 10, reducing inequality within and among countries. Inequality refers to the state of not being equal, especially in status, rights, and opportunities, as per the Oxford Learner's Dictionary. And the understanding of inequality keeps on changing. What was referred to as inequality in the olden days is not what we refer to as inequality currently. During the olden days, what was the method of exchange was barter trade. Today, what we necessarily look at as the mode of exchange is money. Whoever has money is greater than one who does not have money. So what was looked at as inequality back then is not what we look at today. You get it? Today, a person who is poor is measured by a lesser amount of money that you have or investments that you have. And one who is looked at as rich is one who has the investment, one who has the money, one who has it all, one who can access it all at his comfort. There are different types of inequalities that we have, and the list is kind of endless. We might not be able to exhaust them all. However, the major one is income inequality, or which is categorized under economic inequality. In 2018, the top 26 richest people in the world held as much wealth as half of the global population, which is 3.8 billion poorest people. From 1990 to 2005, the shares of the income going to the top 1% of the global population increased in 46 out of 56 countries. Meanwhile, in more than half of the 92 countries, the bottom 40% received less than 25% overall income. And I want to assure you that the 92 countries that receive the 40% less or 25% of the overall income are people who come from developing countries. And the 26 richest people are not people from developing countries. That is a fact. You can dispute it, but it's a fact. There are different kinds of inequalities: racial inequality, gender inequality, and countries like Germany, USA, China, which are developed and the largest economies in Europe, are considered to be more influential on the global trade links for having powerful, strong links with other strong countries and being members of powerful international organizations. Therefore, they hold a greater opportunity than us, the developing countries. However, pose a question to yourself: what would happen if the developing countries were also included in these different organizations? The different decision-making organizations, the different organizations that hold the power in deciding the fate of the world. Don't you think we would be equal at a same pace? I once asked someone, how do you feel about seeing street kids on the road having no food, and you are at the comfort of your home and you have enough? Probably you have surplus. The person was like, we can never be equal in this world. There has to be someone poor and there has to be someone rich. That is how the world has to survive. However, we don't have to have inequalities. We can all be equal by race, religion. You don't have to discriminate anyone basing on anything. We have inequalities within our country itself. Inequality within country cuts across gender, origin, ethnicity, religion, class, income, different opportunities. The opportunity a person gets in Kampala is not the same opportunity a person in Kotido can get. The opportunities are different. If it's a job, a person in Kampala can get a job that pays worth 2 million. But a person in Kotido will get a job that pays 100,000. And the person will sit comfortably. Are we equal? Is there equality? Basic services such as health care, education, clean water are not easy for all of us to get because there is a price that is attached to it all. If I ask you, how many of you guys have washing machines in your homes? Like, there are people who use washing machines and it's a normal thing, but there are people who use hands and it's also normal. Are we equal? The income you are spending per day or your worth per day can sustain a person who uses their hands to wash we are not equal. We need to bring in an element of equality. Abuse of human rights, lack of access to justice becomes the order of the day. But if we critically analyze all this, it points back to extreme poverty. Once you have the money, you can get the justice. You don't have the money, sit back. When I was in law school, they taught us a topic called nuisance. But who can report for nuisance if you have the money? That is what our lecturer was telling us. A poor person, you cannot go and complain over noise and expect for your case to be heard. First and foremost, you will have to incur expenses just for you to sue that person in a civil suit. When you look at all the money that you are going to spend, you end up leaving the case. Where are you getting justice? But a person who has the money can easily get the justice. That is where extreme poverty comes in aiding inequality. So the moment we fight extreme poverty, we eradicate inequality. There isn't a perfect solution as to how inequalities can be reduced within and across nations. We don't have one definite solution that we shall say, this is what we are going to do for us to reduce inequality. But we believe by eradicating extreme poverty, we shall be able to reduce inequality. Inequality can be easily rooted out. It's just the attitude, mindset of all, rich or poor, literate or illiterate, men and women, the young, the youth. We all need to contribute positively with a spirit of selflessness, hard work, mutual respect to develop families and the nations. So this compelling cry for justice must be heard by both the powerful and the privileged for whom the law works, and then those that it sweeps away. Thank you.
My name is Barud Muhammad Barud. I'm from Somaliland. I'm a lawyer by professional, and also I'm a member of G+ movement. According to the World Health Organization, around 15% of world's population, which is the 1 billion people, experience same form of disability. This makes people with disability the largest minority in the world. The World Bank says that approximately 20% of world's poor are persons with disability. This experience means the poverty and disability are related concepts. They go hand in hand. World leaders ought to know that achieving SDG1 is an automatic inclusion for people with disabilities, a remarkable reduction in the number of people who are born disabled or become disabled. Poverty is the greatest unnatural cause of disability amongst human beings. In fact, 80% of persons with disabilities live in developing countries according to the United Nations Development Programme. Such a fact is evidence of how poverty causes disability. Poverty is associated with malnutrition, inadequate access to public health services, for example, immunization, poor living conditions, for example, lack of safe water and environmental exposures, for example, unsafe water, unsafe work environment, which can lead to health conditions resulting to disability. Added to this situation, when a person suffers impairment and gets excluded from health care services, the risk that illness becomes its disability is higher. In this context, being poor increases the risk of illness, and when a person is excluded from health care services, it increases the risk of disability. In this context, a person considered poor by definition has a limited access to food, education, healthcare, employment, and is usually to risk of death and illness or impairment. The sum of these facts can create a vicious cycle where poor people have a high risk of illness. In the cases where they become ill, barriers of access to health care services increased risk, chronic illness, and added social exclusion process. The risk of disability is higher. In addition to same mechanism, low levels of education and knowledge have a negative consequence in the type and quality of information poor individuals have access to increase the risk that both preventable disease becomes a chronic condition or impediment. Aspects related to work and living dangerous place poor hygiene life or conditions. That means low access to clean source of water and improving sanitation service. But beyond all that, people with disability are highly vulnerable to the effect of poverty. Usually people with disabilities are social and economically marginalized. In general, their family are considered the poorest of the poor and excluded from basic opportunity. And the services relating to health, education, and employment. In developing countries, this group faces high risk of poverty and impoverishment, has a higher rate of employment and underemployment, and lower education level. This aspect reduces the human capital and increases the risk of being chronically poor. People with disability face extra costs and barriers in their access to health care services, including rehabilitation and technical aids. They are socially excluded from education and employment and have to assume direct, indirect, and opportunity costs which negatively affect their income and contribution. Opportunity costs which negatively affect that income and contribution. This is not a universal cycle that affects all poor and disabled individuals. Job loss and reducing engineering barriers to education and skill development, significant additional experience, expenses, and many other challenges they can lead to economic stagnation. 90% of children with disabilities in developing countries do not attend the school, says UNESCO. 90% of children with disabilities in developing countries do not attend school, says UNESCO. And according to the UNICEF, 30% of street youths have a same kind of disability. People with disability face a handicap condition, meaning that a person with a disability will not reach the same levels of well-being like a person without disability, even when they have same amount resource. In this, therefore, our humble appeal to United Nations, world leader and multinational organization to accord SDG significant attention and benefiting action in so doing the interest of extreme poverty is ending. Beyond achieving SDG1, we achieve inclusion for people with a disability, also and systemic solution, social discrimination. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, in G+, we're very cognizant of diversity and inclusion. So he might have had challenges in pronunciation, but at least the message has been clear and delivered. A round of applause for him once again. Allow me, lastly, take this great honor to call another brother to deliver the message they have for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, Musime James are the names. As today we are here gathering to talk about SDG1 Symposium, Beyond SDG1 Symposium, I would like to tell you that in the beginning, it is always one person who is poor, then a community. then that community is represented by a flag of a poor country. You see, as the global north is adapting to use of renewable resources as solar energy, the global south is adapting to use of non-renewable resources such as fossil fuel, which is burned to generate electricity, which is used for driving or running cars. But the fact is, burning of fossil fuels increases the concentration of carbon dioxide to a scale of 410 parts per minute, which is making a tragedy of the UN that had said to reduce the degree of global warming to 2 degrees, a hard task to realize. Below are the sum of the ways how SDG 13 is affected by SDG 1. SDG 13 is climate action. Actually, the fact is, poverty has forced majority of the people to resort to cutting down of trees. An example I'm going to give you is about Borneo. In this place, a rainforest was cut down in favor of planting palm oil plantation. So you see that most people, they've adopted to, they've abandoned sustainability in favor of survivorship. People are thinking of how they are going to survive today instead of how they are going to live a better world tomorrow. You get? Then the other thing is, most people have been rendered squatters. So this has forced them to encroach on wetlands and swamps in order to get land or to reclaim land where they can carry out agriculture. So without handling or giving befitting attention to SDG 1, which is ending poverty or no poverty, there is no way we are going to handle or achieve SDG 13. This is going to continue becoming an impediment to achievement of SDG 13, which is climate action. As I conclude, in 2015, conference of parties of COP21 in Paris was certainly a milestone towards fighting climate change. In the past 100 years, global temperature has risen about 0.74 degrees. The past 35 years has witnessed the highest warming in the West, and the worst are the 17 years from 2001. Ocean acidity has increased by 30% since the year 1950 of the Industrial Revolution. Glaciers are melting at a fast rate, thinning to 10 meters since 1980. In the summer of 2009, we've faced the melting of ice and thinning of ice to the extent of 24%. Actually, scientists have come to realize that if you don't handle climate action or climate change, global warming is going to increase and ice is going to be melting at a rate of, to the extent that the thickness of the ice, more especially in the Arctic, is going to be 20 to 90 centimeters by the end of this century. So it is my humble request to the World Organization and other world leaders such as the United Nations, before giving befitting attention to climate action, we should give befitting attention to SDG 1, which is no poverty, because this is we are having a problem where these SDGs and the problems that you are set to solve are like a tree. What am I meaning by a tree is poverty is like a root, climate change is the stem, and then other SDGs are the branches. So there is no way you're going to, if you want to stop the leaking of the leaves on the ground, you cannot just cut the stem and leave the roots. That tree is going to grow again, and we are going to face the same problems that we've been facing in the previous years. So it is a humble request that if we want to solve these problems, let's uproot the tree, the whole tree, which starts by uprooting the roots which are extreme poverty. Thank you.
We are done with the program of correlating the different SDGs with SDG1. I hope the message has been taken in. I hope we have appreciated. Allow me invite Mr. Moses. A round of applause as he comes in front. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mistress of Ceremony. I'm called Gimei Moses. I'm so delighted to be part of this gathering beyond SDG1 and adding a voice to the ignored impact of extreme poverty. I work with the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification, or otherwise known as the Living for the Sake of Others movement for humanity. It was founded by Reverend and Mrs. Moon, and over the years, this federation works to help to create peace, world peace, by building God-centered families. Of course, families coming from individuals who care and live for the sake of another person, from individuals, their family, and nations in the world. The Reverend and Mrs. Moon and the Family Federation have been also awarding and recognizing people who live for the sake of others, like brother has talked about climate change. Every year, there are people who get prizes who are doing something to help to create a better environment, especially bringing a positive impact on the environment. And so I've been touched most by your presentations and speeches. When you look at poverty, it is mostly you would think old people are the ones who may have to think about poverty so much. But getting a gathering of young people, energetic young people, talking about eliminating poverty, it is very good. Young people must decide what they need to do when they are still young, and more so to do something for the sake of other people. If you wait when you get old, you know that the energy has reduced and sometimes the impact is not that much. I'm really extremely happy. I would wish to talk about just for a few minutes about how we can contribute to this. Of course, one sister said there is no one way to fight poverty. But I think we'll all agree that one major cause of extreme poverty is selfishness. Selfishness. This thing we're calling inequality is because those who have are not willing to share with those who don't have or who don't have enough. Even countries that may seem to have, every year there are some countries who throw away food in the ocean. And yet today, there are people dying and starving in Somalia. Just a few days ago, up to today. So this element of selfishness contributes a lot to inequality. And the selfishness is not just in terms of material things. It is the selfishness from deep the heart. As you talk about poverty of lack of food, shelter, clothing, and what, but there's also moral poverty. There's also spiritual poverty. And that even if you don't wish another something good, you are also poor in a way. And that's where the problem lies. I'd wish to encourage you to adopt the philosophy of living for others. And there are 3 ways in which I would quickly talk about. Is by looking at our intrinsic value. That regardless of the country, regardless of a particular group of people or tribe or ethnic community, they are all human beings created by God in the image of God, and they are all humans. So we need to reawaken the understanding that all of us are human beings, black or white or yellow, and we can all do something to help each other, spiritual or physically or in material things. That's the first one. The second one is intrinsic value. That we can all do something. We can all do something. The value that you will be recognized by doing something for the sake of another person. You can talk about it as we are doing. You can practically give services like our American friends have done. You can do something. Organizations such as the United Nations can do the bigger things. But there are us who can also add something small. Our federation empowers young people by making forums to talk about issues that really cause poverty and see how we solve them. We have a wing of the youth alone and women, and we recognize those people as ambassadors for peace. Where there is poverty, there is no peace. You cannot have peace when you're worried. You don't know whether you're going to have the next meal. And when people are hungry, if they lack food, hungry people are angry people. If you're angry, you can be easily irritated. Even criminality, some of those people, of course, it's against the law. The Bible says if you steal because you lack food, you may be excused unless you are caught. And then if you are caught, you have to really pay. So if our people have what they can sustain them, then they will not engage in a crime. They will not. So when we are doing something, it will bring out our interest. It's in our intrinsic value to recognize that we can bring a change to another human being. The last one I wish to talk about is the second one. Value from what a person does, just like we are doing something. So do not underestimate yourself. I'm still a student, I'm earning little, I don't have even a good word. A word of sympathy and empathy is good enough. And the inner worth is the greatest sense of value and worth comes from inside a person. It comes strongly from doing things for others. And so, let's go on. And I know that we will be contributing greatly. And the result of what we're doing, brought together, shall bring a positive change in our society. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moses. It's quite inspiring when we have an elder with us here to guide us in whatever route we take. I've always been told that the generation we live in is one of the youngest generation in history. And to achieve most of these goals globally, we need the energies of the young people because they're energetic. And well, we need the knowledge and guidance of our elders. So we're really, really humbled to have you here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty much sure for some, they're keeping their mouth busy, as I keep mine busy here too. And for some, keep calm. Things are going to reach you. So, as our friends are sharing something to eat, I would love to engage our audience here today. Because we've come to realize, whereas we are actually agitating to achieve the SDGs, it's quite absurd that the majority of the young people in this generation, more so in learning institutions, are oblivious of them. Last week, we were carrying out a survey within our university to establish what amount of students actually in universities actually know the existence of the Sustainable Development Goals. It was actually more ironic and laughable that even some students didn't know the existence of the United Nations. So we really have a great journey to go, but we are glad and appreciate the like-minded people like us here today who appreciate these goals and who understand their benefit. So I'm going to ask, it is a quiz anyway. I ask, what is SDG 13? You raise up your hand, you tell me, you get a gift. So what is SDG 11? Or I will choose randomly. What is SDG 11? Google is busy right now. What is SDG 11? You don't want gifts. Why should bring the money to be seen? What is SDG 11? No, I want a person from Cavendish. And I will pick one of those two ladies. Now, the one who has said no will tell us. She doesn't know. Who's willing to help her? And the one who helps you, you give him a gift or you give her a gift. You're willing to. So who's taking the gift? Am I also allowed to say the answer? Because I need the gift. I don't know what she's giving us tonight. He will tell us. What is SDG 11?
Sustainable cities and communities.
Is he correct? So what gift awaits him? Wow. Another question. We have an understanding before the realization or before the conceptualization of the Sustainable Development Goals, which are 17, there was first conceptualization of the MDGs, which were the Millennium Development Goals. I'm going to award anyone 50,000 shillings if he tells me what MDG2 was. In 30 seconds. If you fail to raise your hand in 30 seconds, that has passed. MDG2. Sure, I'm going to keep my command. I have seen you on Google. So whereas we carry on with this, my brothers and sisters, we can keep the conversation going live on Twitter. For those who have their smartphones, you can go on your Twitter handle, share something about the event and how it's going, and hashtag Beyond SDG1, hashtag I'm Human Too, and you can as well tag our Twitter handle at G+ Movement. The discussion we're going to have today is going to be centered around mainly 3 points, if you may say so, with the appreciation of the fact that Sustainable Development Goal number 1 is no poverty. We come to understand that there has been a systemic denial and attention that has been accorded to it. And it's now going to be the role of our panelists to show us the way forward and how can we go about this systemic denial and how can we call for befitting attention towards ending the injustice of extreme poverty. And beyond that, we want to explore the realms of how we can actually engage young people in this generation and how they can take part in the realization of these goals. Furthermore, for so long we've been looking at extreme poverty on actually how it only affects people or their livelihoods. But given our research and understanding, we've come to a conclusion that actually extreme poverty goes as far as actually compromising some of the global celebrated values, which to say democracy, civilization, inclusion, gender equality, etc., etc. So with the research garnered by our panelists, we're going to see the effect extreme poverty actually has on some of these values. and how best when we achieve the fight against extreme poverty, can we now have a free and democratic environment? Can we have a state of inclusion? Can we achieve human rights? And so on and forth. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'll as well take the pleasure to elevate my position from merely being an MC to the moderator of this great occasion. And at the end of this discussion, for those who will be following, and if in case you have any questions, you can note them down, we shall have an audience interaction where we shall ask our panelists questions, or we have a supplement and complement, you'll have the time to do so. So I guess we shall proceed from here on. Thank you. A good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. I once again welcome you to this momentous occasion where we're going to be engaging with our panelists. I wouldn't want to do injustice, and I'll take this pleasure to give our panelists each a few seconds to introduce themselves and tell us something about them and why they think they're fit to discuss the questions we have here today. I'll start on my left.
Good evening. My name is Peter Peace Namasaba. I'm a third-year law student at Makerere University. I am passionate about women's rights and the rule of law. I volunteer at Africa in Sexual Harassment Initiative, AYESHI. I'm a poet, a writer, and an activist. I was a 2021 African Liberty Writing Fellow. I am a 2022 Lead Her Fellow. I am also part of the Challenging Patriarchy program. I think it is important for young people to be in these spaces because we are the ones molding the present and the future. Thank you.
Thank you once again. Mugoya Ashraf Harid is my name. I am a third-year law student, Islamic University in Uganda. I am a leader, whereby I'm part of the guild. I'm a guild minister, I'm a law society minister, I'm the president, rule of law. I am the president, debating club. I am a commissioner, human rights, Islamic University in Uganda. I am an entrepreneur. I am an activist. And for the record, in the recently concluded debate nationals of universities, I was awarded with a medal as the best speaker, and I am also passionate about human rights, justice, equality, and above all, about we young people, our engagement in issues of national and international importance, because it is we to actually take up the center stage of this, because the future is now. Thank you.
Good afternoon to you all. Once again, my name is Helenita. I'm a student of the law at Kampala International University, and I am so glad to be here. I am passionate about justice. As in, I love it when I see that all people are receiving justice in any way. That is why I became a member of Generation Plus movement, and I am a proud member. I am passionate about human rights, and that is why I believe I am in position to tackle each and everything that we have come to finish in this platform. Thank you so much.
Yes, good afternoon. Once again, my name is Michael Mukembo Serwanga. I am a law student in my third year, second semester. I am the director or the founder of Action Network for Legal Awareness, a non-government organization that is basing in Jinja District, but our operation extend nationwide. I am an activist of both human rights and climate justice. Thank you very much.
What more can I say about our panelists? Having said by them that it's us moving the present and the future, by my panelists on the left, Preta, and having been said by Ashraf as well that we who take up the center stage right now are the youth. I'm safe to say we have the best people to dissect the questions we have here today. Now, for starters, we understand that extreme poverty has existed for quite a long time. And to that effect, before the UN conceptualized SDGs, there were the Millennium Development Goals, which were actually exactly streamlined to addressing extreme poverty. However, these goals were not achieved. And in 2015, when there was conceptualization of the new SDGs, or a new concept, no poverty was actually goal number 1. And now one asks, this was an agenda that was actually to stay as long as 2030. What then happens, Rove, when we don't achieve the fight against extreme poverty? Are we then right to conclude that there's been systemic denial towards ending extreme poverty, or there's something we've failed to explore upon which we've had kind of futile results to this extent?
We are living in a world which is filled with poverty. We are living in a world whereby the rates of poverty are increasing, but not because we do not have, not because the UN or the leaders that we have do not know about this poverty to be existing. Yes, they know it exists, because they themselves, you hear them saying that, Barbara told us that as she was talking to some person, the person was like, we can never be equal in this world. Some people have to be rich, others have to be poor. So we've seen this manifesting, whereby we find ourselves that we are living on the masses of people who have more, and when they wish to give us, that's when they do. So people know that poverty exists. That's why they try to bring, they try to masquerade by coming up with things as charity, in order for them to make us feel like they are doing something about it. But in other words, this charity is not doing anything to solve the issue of poverty. So when we are to look at it in a democratic way, you will find that the rich and the poor, the rich and the poor still, they exist. And the poor people are the ones, they lose that right of independency, whereby they end up having to survive on the masses of the rich. So the political people, they are in position, they are able to, so the political power that they get, those people that we elect into power, you know the fact that we never elected them because it is what we wanted, but we based on the little things that they've used to cover our eyes. That is how we end up surviving on their masses. They are becoming more stronger, and then for us, we are becoming weaker. The poor are becoming poorer, and the rich ones are becoming rich. So what can we do about this? The solution to this is for the young people at this moment. What are we? We need to pull up our stockings, and we put ourselves in a position whereby we are able to decide for our country. We need to know where our country has come from. We need to know where we want to be at a certain point in life, where we want to be. And that is why we will not be taken, we will not be shaken, and we will not be afraid of addressing the truth as it should be.
Well, thank you. Mr. Mugwe, in line with what I've just said, many a times when we speak of poverty, people look at it in a monetary perspective. However, we have an understanding that rather extreme poverty is basically a mainly denial of access to basic needs. In most cases, which they mean to dehumanize the dignity of human life, which is actually a right that ought to be protected, a dignified life. And globally, the number of people in extreme poverty rather increases. This increases in different forms. There are those who die because of hunger, because they can't access it. There are those who die because they can't access basic health care. And there are those who actually are subjected to a poor livelihood simply because they never go to schools and live a life of struggle. And you see, people come with different solutions, like charity, shall say, but in the long run, all this has failed. What do you think then global leaders should do about ending extreme poverty?
Thank you. Once again, Mugoya Ashraf Harid is my name. Now, for starters, I would like us to understand, to make the audience understand why are we here. We are talking about the Sustainable Development Goal. We are talking about eradicating poverty. Why we are here, all of us, we have acknowledged that there is poverty. Now we are coming up, and we've also realized that the people, the number one stakeholders, have failed us. So we try to contextualize on this issue, and we try to get the best solution on how we can go about this. Now, when we look at poverty, more so in Uganda, in Africa, and globally, like it goes back to what you started with, saying this has been designed by the leaders. I will start with Uganda. If you have appreciated the history of Uganda, let us look at right from the time of colonialism. When we were colonized, our colonialists came to Africa, and I will say in Uganda. When they came in Uganda, they brought us an education system. Which education system we praised and thought was good. But what did they train us to do? If you look at history, and what is on record is, when these people came, they trained our forefathers to be secretaries, they trained our forefathers to be interpreters, to be clerks. This is what they were equipped with. And this is the kind of education system that was brought to us that makes us submissive. Look at the way we go to, when we go right from nursery to university, we are groomed to be submissive to our superiors. That is the kind of education system that was brought to us. Now, that education, because when you look at all our colonial masters, you all accept that the education system we are having is not what they are what? Having. That's why they go ahead and they also bring ahead the Cambridge, they bring ahead the international one. Why do they, let us also look at the intention. Why do they bring that education system here? Is it to benefit we? No. Because they know we have our ambassadors there. We have our citizens who have gone there to work for their countries back there. So their children should continue having the same system they're having that side. That's why when you even go to the international school, we are not there. So this entire poverty has been designed by our leaders. He was talking about the closure of borders. Let's look at right from policy making. Our leaders love us when we are poor, because it is easier to rule, it is easier to govern a poor person than a person who is financially stable, financially independent. Let's look at right from politics. Those leaders of ours will stay in those offices, ignore, they will not bring they will not provide medication in school, in the hospitals, they will not give us good education, they will make policies. That's why look at our parliament. They continue to make policies that make us poorer, increasing taxes, and they say we are trying to stabilize the economy. Why? We continue being poor. And when it comes to election, for the record, in Uganda, the president, the those MPs come and they bribe people with 2,000 Ugandan shillings. Recently, the Prime Minister of Uganda was seen in one of the districts called Kayunga. They were having a by-election. Now, she lined up all the people and gave them 2,000 Ugandan shillings. And that 2,000 is in position to influence we to go and vote whom they want us to vote. Now, that is why we say it is systematic. Keep them in that poverty. When they are poor, for us, we continue to control them. We tell them, do this, do this. So we look at them as demigods. Let's look at even the current oil project. Who does it benefit? When you look at the closure of the border, that was systematic. It was systematic by our leaders. So this entire poverty thing has been systematically organized by the globally. Right? Our leaders, our current African leaders, have adopted this from the colonial masters, who we look at as the power, as the superpowers. So we as the youth, we needed to acknowledge this. We needed to know that really, our very own leaders, our very own people have been made enemies to ourselves. So we take up the center stage. We realize that, now we come up with the strategies on how best we can do that. And I believe you will give us the chance to give the way forward. Now, what do we do about that?
We'll see about that.
Thank you.
Ms. Namasaba, you've come for a time to speak, but most of the panelists actually agree that extreme poverty has been systemically denied attention. Now, I want you to help us elevate this conversation globally. How has this attention been denied systemically? And how best can we, as young people, as well, try to address it, given the fact that we live in one of the youngest generations?
Thank you for that question. People often say that to be poor is to be unhuman. When someone is poor, they are less than human. They don't have access to basic needs, to water, to food. Even how we treat people whom we deem as poor, we treat them as if they are not people, that they are less than human. When we approach these conversations regarding things like poverty, most times we be like, let people work harder, let them invest, let them save. But we live in a world where there is a disparity between the rich and the poor. And we can see that the rich didn't become rich all of a sudden. They got rich by exploiting the poor. We can look at the second richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos. His warehouses, he refused his workers to unionize so they could demand for better working conditions. The employees were refused, the employees of Amazon were refused from taking breaks to urinate and to take care of themselves, that they had to urinate in bottles. It shows the inhumanity of it all. And these are not the poor people out there. They are earning more than the $1, which the UN sees as the measure of being poor. But we can see how the man at the top is treating someone he deems as poor. We all have cell phones here. The biggest component of the cell phone that chip is mined in Congo and Taiwan, and we have seen what is happening in Congo. The war that has never ended for more than 50 years. Our own country's forces are in Congo, apparently trying to end terrorism. But we look at the child labor in countries like Congo, whereby the phones that we use, the laptops, the iPads, those minerals are in that country, and children as young as 5 years are the ones mining those minerals so that us, who can afford to buy those phones, can consume. So, on a larger scale of it, poverty is an issue of power. When the people are disenfranchised, they don't have power. When someone is poor, the system is in such a way that they can't move away from that point of being poor. However much you work hard, however much you save, however much you strive, it is in such a way that you are poor, that's it. That is the verdict. So I'm going to talk about SDG 16, and its relation to the theme of what we're talking about today. So SDG 16 is about peace, justice, and strong institutions. So we are going to look at how does peace, justice, and strong institutions relate to poverty. And I'm going to ask 3 questions. Can people prosper when there is no peace? Can people prosper when there is no justice? Can people prosper when there are no strong institutions? And when I say people, I'm meaning all of us, not some of us. Because of course when there is war, those who are taking part of the war are going to prosper. When there is no justice, those who are stealing the justice are going to prosper. When there are no strong institutions, those who corrupt those institutions are going to prosper. But all those who prosper in these kinds of inequalities are a few. And the majority of the people are left to suffer in poverty. So, the question today was, how does poverty affect peace, justice, and strong institutions? But it is not a one-sided question. It isn't poverty, an arrow, and peace, justice, and strong institutions. It is also about how does peace, justice, and strong institutions relate to poverty. Let's look at war zones and the effects that they have on things like, development, trade, economics. Let us take an example of South Sudan. It's the youngest country in the world. But even right now, last month I was in Nairobi for a conference, and I was discussing with some of the people who were from South Sudan. And they were complaining that you are talking to someone, they are a spy. You can't sell your goods at night. You can't walk in the streets at night. So all of those things compromise on trade, on development, on the economics of it all. When there is no peace, there is no prosperity for everyone. We can look at Uganda. One of the issues that the NRM government has been held for is promoting peace and security. Like, it is the #1 thing. You look at Uganda from 1971, the Amin era, and the 1981 to 86, that era of all those wrangles and the guerrilla war. And it was an era of fighting, of insecurity. And Uganda got so severely underdeveloped that our neighbors wanted nothing to do with us. Then we got a new government that worked towards peace and security. And if you look at it from 1996 to 2006, that was the peaceful era of Uganda. We experienced an economic boom. We got UPE, we got all these good things, electrification and all of that. Though it can be argued that all of these things, are going back to the way they are. But there cannot be prosperity when there is no peace. I also read somewhere yesterday, it said that ending poverty is not an act of charity. It is an act of justice. Ending poverty is not, giving someone 1,000 or giving them seeds to plant in their gardens. Those are small nothings. Changing poverty is an act of justice. It is ensuring that the systems that are in place are equitable and that everyone has an access to justice. Poverty, relates to things like, the law. We saw murders in Lubero, murders in Itebe, and up to this day, those people who lost loved ones have not gotten justice because they are poor. You want to go to a court of law, the lawyers are very expensive. The state lawyers really can't help you very much. You need to talk to the judge. They'll be like, we need a bribe. We need somebody so that you can access, justice. So ending poverty is not about charity. It isn't about giving someone crumbs or bread. It's about justice. It's about giving people what we stole from them. And the last thing is strong institutions. When there are strong institutions, there is no poverty. Because as we have said, poverty is systematic. Yeah. And since poverty is systematic, it is in the institutions, it is embedded in the parliament, in the laws they make, in the executive, the order we saw the lockdowns and the impact it had on this country, and all of those things.
Okay, so as we conclude, I want us to explore the paradigm of power that you brought up, with the understanding that power belongs to the people, and with the understanding that the generation we're living in today is comprised of young people. Now, since power belongs to the people and the people are young people, what can young people do towards ending extreme poverty? Briefly, in 30 seconds.
We live in a world of complacency. You can eat, you can go to school, and there's so much wrong with the world, but you can get the simple needs. So you're complacent, like, I don't want to change anything. It could be, very bad, but at least it's not bad right now. I think it's embedded in selfishness. Like we as young people, we are selfish because in the past we have seen, young people set up revolutions. Because young people are the change. Statistically, Uganda is made up of 80% of young people. 80%. But we are not in charge. We are the pawns. We get arrested. We're the ones who are getting murdered. All bad things happening to young people, and we are the majority.
So in conclusion, young people should be selfless.
Democracy is by the people, for the people. But when the majority of the people are not part of democracy, it makes you wonder. So I think as young people, we need to take up the call for activism. We are the change we want to see. If someone asks for a bribe, refuse to give the bribe. It begins with us. The change begins with us. We are building our world, and by taking part in the rotten systems, we are only creating a world that is going to be very bad for us.
Great. Mr. Ashraf, briefly, what can young people do towards achieving the fight against extreme poverty?
Well, I believe we young people need to get out of our comfort zone. We need to be realistic. We need to stop being selfish. We need to stop taking things for granted. So many of us look at, you will ask a young person here, who is the finance minister of Uganda? I don't know. Who is the vice president? Who is this? Or which institution? We need to be realistic. We need to get to the point of approaching our leaders. She was talking about ending poverty not being a charity, not something whereby you wake up one day and you're giving someone 1,000. And it is what our government does. You get it? They wake up one day and they say, we are fighting poverty, we've brought parish development model. What is it doing? Get 10 million, give a group of about 30 people. They divide it amongst themselves. We are lending them at an interest of 6%. At the end of the day, such small handouts are not helping. So we need to approach our leaders, we as young people. And it starts right now. And our policymakers, we influence the making of better policies that can sustain us. Then we also need to be entrepreneurs. It starts with us, because you cannot wake up one day and you're saying you're fighting poverty when every day you wake up, you stay in your home, you don't think of doing something. We need to advocate for policies. If you want the government to reduce taxes, let them reduce taxes when you have a small business somewhere, that once they reduce, you also benefit. So it is an all-round battle that mainly calls for we, the young people, because the old people, their time is up, and this country is going to remain with us, and we need to look at also the coming generations.
Right. As the time of the old people is up, our time is also almost up. So, briefly, Ms. Aini Mbabazi, I would love you to tell us in 30 seconds, what do you think young people can do? Should I say young people should stop being selfish and be selfless? We need to advocate for policies, as said by Mr. Mugoya. So what's your take on this, briefly?
Well, as young people, our calling here is beyond making and earning money for us to enjoy as we want. It's a calling for us to participate in bringing forth the 3 basic development goals in reality. That is ending extreme poverty, reduce inequalities, and protecting the planet by 2030. So how do we participate in this? We can participate in this by we ourselves realizing where our country has come from, where it is now, and where we want it to be in a few years to come. Because as we are complaining that the old people have not done anything, their time is up. But what are you having on plate? What is that idea that you have developed in your mind, that you have brought on ground, where you know that this is taking my country somewhere? What are you bringing on the market? Because extreme poverty is beyond what you're earning. It is not just, it's supposed to be based on what the international standard of poverty is being leveled on, let's say $1.9 a day. No, this thing goes beyond that. Extreme poverty is why you see your brother dying because they're not having medicine. You're seeing your sister is being sent for early marriage just because there is no school fees. So these are the things that we have to look at. And you're like, I'm saying my country, I'm saying people are dying of, let's say, they were telling us that a number of youths are unemployed. Yes. So are you also going to cry like them? You come up with an idea. You come up with what you can do to see that other people also gain from you. Before you ask yourself, what have they done for me? But you as yourself, what have you done for that sister of yours to say that you solve that chaos, that callousness which is making us bitter? The things that we are going through, the pain that we are experiencing due to extreme poverty, it is not supposed to be looked at in a way that we have to wait for the mercy of the government to stand in for us. No. Let us also participate in making our country better. Lastly, let us also, we as the youths, let us not always be in our one-room hostels and whatever, and we rest there. Let's participate in community development projects. Let's do something. Let us do something. That is the main thing. Let us promote love. Let us promote strength within ourselves as the youths. Let you be your brother's keeper in all things, and we shall end this.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Let us keep making change, not only in our countries but globally, because extreme poverty is not only subject to people in Uganda, Kenya, or East Africa, but globally. We've heard from our panelists. There have been quite insightful discussions here. Trust me, I would love this conversation to go on and on because I have lots of questions I'd love to ask them, but because of time, we can't have that privilege. However, I'm going to have only 3 brief questions from the audience to our panelists. You can direct the question to a specific panelist, or we can leave the question open and one of them can answer it. I'll choose 3 people. 2 ladies and 1 gentleman. And let that be quick. Yes, James. Ask the question.
My question is going to Preta. You're saying that the change should start with the for example, when you asked for a bribe, you shouldn't give him that bribe. But take a scenario where you need medical attention and you're asked to give bribe. Yeah, my question was, we are saying that we should end bribe, or, for example, now I'm giving an example where you need medical attention and you're asked to give in bribe for a doctor to attend to you. And if you don't give in that bribe, no one is going to attend to you. So should we leave our people, or should we die because we can't give in that bribe?
All right, got your question. Hopefully you've noted it down. So the second person, a lady.
Yeah.
A lady, I want a lady. You have a question? Where are our ladies at? There's a lady behind there.
I'm called Maya.
Yes.
My question goes to any panel.
It's okay.
So, saying here in Africa we have natural resources. Our people are still suffering poverty and struggle. Most of them, they die hunger because of that poverty. So we have mentality which is, most of them, they go Emirates, they are desert country. So why are we not utilizing our natural resources like planting and others?
All right, we shall have it at that. So we'll start with you, Peter. He has asked a question. Hopefully you narrowed it down. What response do you have to that question? Swiftly, in a few seconds. Can you have a microphone back? Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Let it not be ambiguous in one sentence. What's your question?
My question is, don't you think the stories of these rich guys are playing, let me say, more of a negative, let me say, impact than positive one? Because the person will tell you, maybe I started with selling tomatoes. and I got, let me say, to a building in Kampala. Is that possible?
All right, go to your question. Move on to that question. Let's have a microphone back. Send the microphone. I'm going to take a question. Just let's answer these 3 questions. I'm going to get back to you. So, you've had the question. I will have the other question go to Helen, asked by our sister. Hopefully you got it. So, starting with you, Peter, swiftly, what's the response to James' question? Yeah.
No, the thing about corruption is that it's in places where it's a do or die. Like in a hospital. When we say that you are a change you want to see, so there is this concept of whistleblowers. So whistleblowers in this 21st century have been vital in changing these systems. So you are going to go to the hospital, the doctor is like, give me 100,000 before I work with you. Have a phone. You have a camera.
Computer misuse act.
Imagine you recorded it. He recorded it. We all recorded it. Do you think the
Computer misuse act?
There
is an exception to that effect.
You can't add it to every general. Yes.
Thank you. He says that most of the stories of the rich people are centered on the negative side, whereby they come and they say that I started with selling tomatoes, now I have buildings. How realistic is that? Well, I will say that the answer to that is two-sided. Let's look at the why. To a large extent and to a less extent. To a large extent, they are liars. It is a mindset. That is what we are doing. They come and they will, why? Because most of these rich people you're talking about, these are people in power. Or these are people, you know that most of the rich people hire people to hide the properties for them. So they come up and that is another way of encouraging poverty. Because they know that realistically, you're going to continue being comfortable with your selling of the tomatoes there, with your small business, hoping that one day you will also be there. Yet in actual sense, you will not be there because of the unfair policies that cannot allow you to be there. Whereas you comfortably acknowledge them, celebrate them, and you're like, yes, they were also once there, and now they are there.
Let's have it there. Hopefully you don't stay there. Helen, as you answer this question, I'm going to kindly ask you to be very, very brief.
The question was about why our resources are not utilized, and then why our fellow sisters are going to United Arab Emirates for
Qatar,
Dubai for labor. Then this takes us to the issue of how extreme poverty has hindered or has brought compromise on the human rights, whereby you find that people now can no longer, like the country itself, poverty has made people want to settle for the jobs which are inadequate, whereby the minerals or the whatever that we have, we ourselves, we may not even have the resources or what it takes to mine them. And not until we shall wait for a white man to come with this and that for him to be able to extract, and our people shall be, and then he takes it to their place. So it is, our resources are not helping us at all. That is why we find ourselves having to go against our own will, that we go and work there. Because we've not been able to utilize the resources. A white man comes, he gets them, takes them to the country, and you, the miners, you're given a chicken pie for your work.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of this momentous occasion. A lot has been said, but for the few things I've been noting, poor people are easy to govern. To be poor is to be unhuman. Poverty is an issue of power. And these are things I believe are within our capacity that we can address them, because power belongs to the people, and the people of the nation are the young people. So I humbly call upon you, to call upon leaders and policymakers to accord befitting attention to ending extreme poverty. I would love us to give a great loud applause to our panelists that have graced this day. Ashra, Kelly, and Michael. They have done us justice in dissecting most of these issues. And I wish we have such more engagements. And I want to once again thank American Center for hosting us here today. I want again to thank ITO-TV, and lastly, thank Generation Plus for organizing this symposium. And we look forward to engage with all of you in all different forums and platforms. At this point, will allow me to call upon our brother, Geoffrey Wako, to give us the closing remarks. And from here, I'll kindly ask all of you to join us for a picture as we shall be gracing our event. And kindly follow us on Twitter, G+ Movement, etc., etc. Thank you all once again for coming.
Yes, thank you so much. I will also add my voice upon yours to extend a vote of appreciation to our formidable partners. Those that have partnered with us, that is the American Embassy, through the American Center, they have given us the venue for free. That deserves an applause. Then, secondly, I will extend our media partners, that is ITO's Media. They are an online TV and also operate in the studios and so forth. If you have a song in making, composition, you can reach out to them. Thank you, Mr. Pius and your team. And we are expecting and we are anticipating to work more on more projects. I will only speak a few words, and this message goes to our world leaders, and I want it to be recorded very clearly. This message goes to you world leaders. Dear world leaders, you are the fountain of the people's hope. You are the servants of these people. Do not disown them. Do not betray them. You know very well that we have the financial muscle and resource capacity to reach the sweet dream of a poverty-free world, but we still linger in the nightmare of poverty because of your conservatism and the deficiency of will. It is therefore our humble yet firm appeal to you. Accord Sustainable Development Goal 1 sufficient attention and befitting action for a poverty-free, equal, inclusive, and sustainable world. And you young people, this message is for you. Do not be cowards. Do not be apathetic and indifferent. It is within our power today to change the world into one that works for all, regardless of nothing. It is within our right and ability to demand for a poverty-free world. Let us cultivate that confidence. Confidence that someday all human beings will lead a happy, commendable, and fulfilling life. Confidence that we are the best architects, crafters, and engineers of that beautiful future. Confidence that one day our sweet little children will hold our hands and with a proud smile they will thank us for laboring through sweat and pain to build such a good world. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
All right. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you for joining us here today. It's been a great pleasure. Thanks for your time. And I implore all of you to raise the voice. Speak up, because it's the only tool we have. Let's speak up to the policymakers locally and globally. We appreciate diversity. Thanks for our sisters and brothers who came to join us from Cavendish, from IU, from IUEA, from Kampala International University, from Makerere. We actually much humbled. Mr. Moses, it's actually a very, very good pleasure to have you here today and to grace this event. And
actually, sorry, Mr. Moses, thank you so much for coming, and we are expecting to work with you. We need elder people to work with young people, intergenerational solidarity. So thank you so much for coming.
And my brother Barut told me we say mashallah. I don't know. What does inshallah? Inshallah. God willing. God willing. So guys, thank you. I wish you a good evening, and it's been a pleasure to have you here tonight. Just in case there's anyone, we're going to want all of you to take a picture, maybe outside there.
Victor, before we can do that, let us have the panelists stand, plus you, sir.
Yes.
Then we are only doing this for record purposes because this has been organized by the Generation Plus movement, of which I am the founder, and I work with a formidable team. You guys are so wonderful. Let them stand up for recognition.
If it's a manpower, dispose of the stairs.